The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Weekly Forecast.
Hey guys, this is a weekly forecast for February 7th through the 11th of 2022. Alright, we'll start off the Eurjpy. This is a weekly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since the last weekly long trade formed right here, and last year there was compact short price action that formed right here, which shows strong short strength. So in the long term, I'm short biased. Right back down to this pivot low right here. And moreover, since price is likely to reach this pivot low right down here before reaching this pivot high, in the short term, I am also short biased. Right back down to this pivot low right here. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is a weekly chart. For a full explanation of what's been happening in the price in this entire area, please refer to the Forex Recap series. Okay, but the latest move that happened was again that there was compact short price action that formed right here, which is stronger than this lastly weekly long trade that formed right here. And so in other words, a weekly bias is short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low before reaching this pivot high. And so if you recall, I was waiting for a pullback at least to this 131.67 levels, roughly in these areas right here, or a short entry, again with the stop loss up here, and its main target being right down here. Now on Friday, I did take a short entry at this 1.3167 levels, and moreover, if price does give an even deeper pullback, I will be willing to take another short entry, again with the same risk parameters. Now before I get into that, let me just show you why price is pulling back in this area right here so strongly. So let's go over to the monthly chart. Okay, so on this monthly chart, if you recall, the last major pullback at the end of last year was at this level right here, getting very close to that stop loss level roughly in these areas. Now if you recall, the reason for this strong pullback was due to a new monthly trend line forming at this level right here. And when price ranges about and makes a new legitimate trend line and price respects it, oftentimes that becomes a catalyst for a strong move in the opposing direction. Or in other words, it can provide as a target for this short bias. Now this new extreme long move is doing the same thing. So again, a new trend line was formed from this pivot to this pivot right here, and price tested it twice at these levels right here. Now both these price action setups do provide a lot of opposing long strength, and moreover this second catalyst long does have more long strength than this previous one. And that's simply due to the fact that this lower gap is actually slightly bigger than the upper gap, and moreover this new trend line actually has one more touch than the previous trend line here, making it a strong catalyst for long strength. However, in my opinion, I still think that compact short price action is still stronger than this new catalyst long, and thus I'm still short bias. Okay, so let me just go ahead and explain what I'm looking for on the lower time frames in terms of that second entry now. So let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so on this 1 hour chart, if you guys recall, as price pulled back down, there was consistently short-term short strength. Then last week, I was talking about this short strength waning due to a trend line breakout and immediate break back in of this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, right at this point right here. And moreover, price reached its last major pivot high, showing that long strength in the short term was kicking back in. However, some interesting things happened this week. Okay, so first of all, this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, it was broken out but no immediate break back in, which signals short-term short strength, right? And then moreover, at this point right here, there was actually a 1 minute legitimate double top that formed, and this actually went as target height. And this also shows slight short-term short strength. And then right after that, on the 5-minute chart, there was actually a fake double top that formed right here. And on this fake double top, price actually reached the stop loss level at the second top right here before reaching its target height level, which signals slight long strength. So in other words, price was giving mixed signals in this area right here. And then moreover, there was a breakout of a major 1 hour trend line at this point right here. And there was a break right back in, which signals short-term short strength. However, immediately the correlating major pivot high, which is at this level right here, was stopped out, which actually signals that the long strength was able to override this short-term short strength provided right here. And as you can see, price just burst up right after that. So one thing to keep in mind is that when price is giving mixed signals like this, a lot of times the price action post this type of confusing price action is often very strong. Now that could be long or it can be short. Okay, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. Let me just zoom in here. Okay, and then we got that strong move up. And moreover, in this area right here, there was actually a 15-minute upward trend line that had a breakout and then immediate break back in, which signals long strength, right? So typically I would not take a short entry when there's short-term long strength still visible. However, I did take that short entry at 1.3167 roughly in these levels right here, even if I knew that price was still going to go up a little bit more due to the fact that the NFP release was due yesterday, in which case price can often move erratically and not give me an opportunity for a short entry. Okay, so I did take one short entry at this level right here with the risk parameters I showed you earlier. And if price does give an even stronger pullback, I will be willing to take another short entry with even better risk parameters. Now, moreover, one thing I want to mention is that there is a possibility I may abort this current short entry for a better entry price at higher levels. I'll only do that if there's extreme long strength in short-term price. And extreme long strength will be through price pattern. So if there's a legitimate double top that forms on these lower time frames and price reaches its stop loss level at the second top before reaching its target height level, well, that would indicate to me that there's a lot of short-term long strength, in which case I will abort this initial short entry I took to perhaps get an even better entry at deeper pullback levels. Okay. However, in the meantime, what I'll be looking for in terms of this confirmation of short strength will be this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. So if price breaks this out, then immediately breaks back in that case, I'll be expecting a further pullback long, in which I'll be taking another short entry along with the current one I'm having right now. However, moreover, if price does break this out, wiggles around a bit, and then breaks back in that case, that's signaling short-term short strength. So I'll keep this initial position I'm holding, but I will not be taking a second short entry at this 131.67 levels, where I do want a better entry price for the short trade for that second entry. Okay, all right, so let's go on to the pound dollar. Okay, and if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about in terms of weekly biases and strong and weak trades, please watch my price action trading course, for that course is designed to provide you the necessary information so you can understand these forecasts. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since this horizontal trend line right here just became legitimate with its 3 touches at 1, 2, and 3 right here, and since price has a tendency to want to test strong levels, in the long term I'm long biased right up to this horizontal trend line. More on the weekly chart, since there was a strong long trade and a weak short trade that formed. In the short term I am also long biased right back up to this pivot high right here. Okay, let's talk entries. Okay, this is the weekly chart. For an explanation of what's been happening in the price in this entire area right here, please refer to the Forex Recap series. Okay, but the most recent move that happened is that there was a strong long trade and a weak short trade that formed here. And so the bias is long, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. And so I've been waiting for a pullback at least to this 1.3300 levels for a long entry. And so I've been watching the lower time frames to see how much of a pullback I can get again for this long entry. So let me show you what that's about. Let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Okay, so on this 1 hour chart, if you recall, we were consistently getting short-term short strength all along these areas. Okay, and if you recall on this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, we had a breakout and no immediate break back in, signaling that this short strength was waning. And so the long strength started to kick back in. And moreover, I was also watching this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. And we got a breakout and no break back in at all, signaling that long strength is still prevalent. And moreover, this week, we're continuously getting price patterns that were not showing any extreme long strength. So in other words, on the lower time frames, for example, we had an HNS that was legitimate, and that would actually go its target height level. Or moreover, a double top that is fake, and price just hit its stop loss level at the pivot high at the second top right here before reaching the target height level. So there were no signs through these price patterns of extreme long strength at this point. showing signs that we still might get a pullback for that 1.3300 level for a long entry. Alright, so the next levels I'll be looking for to confirm some short strength are these levels. The first trend line is from this pivot to this pivot right here. And the next one will be this pivot to this pivot right here. Okay, so like always, I want to see price break it out and not immediately break back in. Again, that means the close of the breakout candle and the open of the break in candle are not at the same level. Okay, so that applies for this trend line also. I do not want to see an immediate break back in. I'd much rather have price just wiggle around and break back in. That will confirm some short-term short strength. Okay, let me just sum this up on the weekly chart. Okay, so again on this weekly chart, the bias is long and price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. And so I do want to pull back as much as possible. Now at the bare minimum, that'll be at 1.3300 roughly in these levels right here. However, ideally, I do want a further pullback, seeing that this weekly target in this case is at this level right here. So again, I'll be watching the shorter time frames to see if we get any strength short. And then moreover, as price reaches a stop loss level, like always, I want to see price start to base out on the shorter time frames through the aforementioned trendline breakouts and moreover price patterns for the time being. Okay, so this week I'll just see if we can get to 1.3300 and then watch the lower time frames price action to decide whether I'll enter at 1.3300 or at further pullback levels. Okay, alright, so that's it for the weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.